Hi everybody. Okay, so this is going to be kind of a quick video. It will go with the videos that I made a few days ago. These are going to be your red flag warning signs of a child predator. Someone who spends most of his or her spare time with children and has little interest in spending time with people their own age. There's people that just adore kids that would much rather be around kids than adults, which is understandable because kids are so great, but it's just something to watch, to keep an eye out for. Repeatedly ignores social, emotional, and or physical boundaries and limits. So, someone that's like, oh, come sit on Uncle whatever's lap, or adults should know boundaries, you know what I mean? And they should pick up on social cues, and they should also be able to tell if a child feels uncomfortable. If someone ignores those, that's a huge red flag. Singles out a child, lavishes them with extra attention, affection, gifts, and develops an age-inappropriate relationship. Huge red flag. Massive. Pushes and regularly suggests alone time with your child. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna take, Skippy to go see whatever movie, and someone's like, oh, why don't you let me take him? Or if they're like, oh, well, let me go with you, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And they're like, well, why don't you go do something else? Why don't you let me go? Why don't you, and if that's like a regular occurrence, if they're like just trying to offer up free babysitting all the time, it's probably too good to be true. I'm just saying. Pushes physical boundaries with a child, including hugging, touching, kissing, tickling, wrestling, or holding a child even when the child resists physical contact or attention. Massive red flag. Like Uncle Johnny wants to tickle you all the time. No. Don't let Uncle Johnny tickle you. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, kids need to know to be able to say, hey, I don't like that, and it needs to stop, And we as adults, which it can be so awkward because so much of the time people really are just trying to play with it or something, but it's just not okay. Shares inappropriate, adult-geared personal or private information with your child. Children, nobody should be sharing, inappropriate or adult-geared information with any child, because we have to really work on, preserving, our children's innocence. Kids can't deal with adult situations and adult issues or adult information. Their little minds can't process that. And as mature as they may seem, they're not. And they shouldn't have to be. You know what I mean? I like to keep my kids, as sheltered as I can the last couple of years. That really, went to hell in a handbasket. But just don't talk. If someone's talking, just adult issues, it needs to stick with adults. You know what I mean? Kids have no business. They can't help solve the problem, or they're not going to have, a logical, input or suggestion, because they're children, and they just can't handle that. Points out sexual images and tells inappropriate or suggestive stories in front of children. Huge red flag. If someone doesn't have that, filter as to what's appropriate to discuss in front of children and what's not, sometimes they might not have the filter, and sometimes they might just not care. And if they don't care, then that's huge red flag. This is, I kind of just said this a little bit ago, appears too good to be true, and is frequently swooping in to babysit your children for free, help out often, takes your children overnight outings, takes your children on special outings alone, buying them gifts for no apparent reason, especially a person who does not have children of their own. Huge red flag. I know a ton of people that don't have children, and that's not what they do. That's not ever normal. It's just not. I mean, they have dogs that are like their children. It's just not normal. I mean, if it's different if there's, you know, like a big sister, big brother program, and that's like, they signed up to do that like once a month or something, whole different ballgame. If it's your neighbor, or that's just, and it sucks because I know that there's people out there that are really just helpful people and they just want to help, and I get that, but that's not normal. Someone who doesn't have kids, I don't know, I just can't think of any situation where that would be normal. Someone who frequently walks in on children or teens in the bathroom, and if they're like, oh my gosh, oops, it was a mistake, or, you know, if you've got, you know, your husband, or God forbid, I mean, like, if your kid's staying the night at someone's house and this person's dad always accidentally walks in, you know, on them, that is not an accident. You know, like, accidents happen, but after so many times, that's alarming, you know? So these are just some warning, you know, just red flag warnings to look out for, you know, for like child predators in action, because a lot of these come off as just someone being helpful, and abuse, all types of abuse, almost always start with someone just wanting to help. And so that is, it sucks, you know, because like I said, there are helpful people in the world, but unfortunately, monsters also like conceal themselves as really helpful people. Most like sociopaths and psychopaths are known for being really helpful, generous people, and that is terrifying. And so that is what we have to, you know, look out for. So I hope this helps somebody somewhere. Thanks.